You're not going to believe what we're going to lead off with. Not just football, but the quarterback. It was obviously a big question heading into this spring. It's a big question every single day. People are asking us, and it might be a question all the way till the season begins, right? The name everybody wants to talk about the most, of course, is Alex Orji, who I'll let you get into this, but had a good first week. Maybe it was a rocky week in the second week, right? Mm-hmm. We're literally looking at this day by day. That's how fluid this situation potentially is. We know what he can do in big moments as a runner. We haven't seen him throw the ball. Josiah Stewart today specifically commented on that, saying, hey, I know I see it on social media. He can throw the ball, right? Everything kind of feels like it's around him just because he did play last year. Doesn't seem like there's a situation where he won't play at all. But obviously Tuttle's been dealing with some injuries, but some of the other guys have had good weeks as well. So where do you see things right now? And again, obviously no one's predicting a start or anything like that, but just how have things been going as Michigan's working with 5 different quarterbacks trying to figure out what this depth chart's going to look like?
Yeah, I think, we're looking at, as you said, a day by day type of thing. Orji had a really good week, the first week of spring practice. And then the second week, last week, I heard that all three the main 3 right now in Denegal, Orji and Warren really kind of all struggled because they are easing Tuttle back into the mix. And I don't think he's fully throwing yet and everything like that. So, that's just what's going to happen. I think the defense at this time of the year is always ahead of the offense. And when you've got a defense as good as what Michigan's defense has been, it's going to be difficult to throw the ball. So I also heard, to be fair, and not to totally just, make a panic or make a scene that no one's stepping up. I did hear on Saturday that the offense got better of the defense during the weekend too. So again, it's the ebbs and flows of this whole thing. And I'm really at this point, there's got to be some pretty significant progress in order for one guy to emerge as the guy coming out of the spring. And they don't really need to be in a rush to name a guy. You've got all of spring, and then you have all of fall camp too to really nail things down. So, for those kind of wanting a quarterback to step up, I mean, I understand the thought process, but they don't really necessarily need it in a sense. I mean, yeah, it'd be nice to see, but it's just the ebbs and flows right now. Orji had a good week last week. Orji had a good week the first week. Denegal had a pretty, I wouldn't say bad week, but he had an off week the first week. And then Orji had a pretty average week last week. And then Denegal stepped up and had a much better week. So it's not going to be, this clear, for those I know obviously Michigan was spoiled with JJ last year. I mean, you knew what you had in JJ, and they just don't have a JJ on their roster this year. And that's, you're talking about a generational quarterback. So, I don't think that they're at a position right now where they, are worried at all. They would like someone to step up, but that kind of breeds a little more competition when things are a little more on even playing fields. So, if you were forced me to make a pick right now, and it'd be crazy to do this, but I would say probably Orji would be the guy right now. And I don't think that's really a hot take, but Jaden Davis is working his way up too. I mean, he's had a couple of good practices. His arm strength is definitely not at the level of guys like Denegal and Orji. Orji is definitely leading the way in that regard in terms of arm strength. So, it's still very early. Again, I think it's a good thing that you do hear that the offense is taking a couple of plays away from the defense, because they have a far far more veterans on that side of the ball than they do on offense. So, and the defense should still be pretty good. So, it's we'll kind of see. I think if the run game is continues to be good with Donovan Edwards, the whole need for an elite passer, you kind of lessen that a little bit. So we'll see what happens. I think still a long way to go. Again, we're talking only 2 weeks here worth of information, so there's really nothing that I can say definitively, but it's just going to be up and down until it's not, until there's a guy that is kind of really stepped up. So we'll see. I mean, the main important part is that the Bullets are live, and those three guys, all four guys are healthy right now. So that's a good thing. So again, it's just kind of a wait and see mode. But yeah, I mean, it's just up and down right now, and one guy's going to have a better day than the other, and that's just. I mean, it was like that last year too. I mean, you heard that Davis Warren had a better day in practice than JJ did at one point. It just happens sometimes. So it's just wait and see. Patience is the key here.
You just reminded me of a funny tweet from my friend Don Thomas about Davis Warren and JJ McCarthy. But anyway, Brock, what are your thoughts early on here? And it's so funny to me. Fans, I mean, I'm seeing it in the comments already. Fans have picked their horse, which is pretty common, but they're really, really confident and opinionated on this. And we don't know anything about any of these guys largely. It's funny.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a risky path to take, picking your horse right away. When spring ball is not even over and the spring game hasn't even happened yet, I would encourage fans to just sit back and let it play out, because there's still 5 months until the season starts, and a lot can happen between now and then. So, including Michigan potentially going to the portal and picking up a quarterback. So you never know what's going to happen. The starting quarterback on August 31st may not even be on the roster right now. So you always have to keep that in the back of your mind. But, I've seen a lot of people in the comments talking about how, Alex Orji is just a running back, or he can't really throw the ball. Don't put a lot of faith in a guy who hasn't thrown a whole lot of passes the last few years. But I think I agree with Josh. He's the clear front runner right now. Maybe not clear, but he would be the front runner in my opinion as well.
Yeah. It feels like he's the guy they want to win the job, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I agree. I think
fair way to put it.
Yeah, the staff probably wants him to be the guy to take over, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Like I said, there's still a lot of time until the season starts. But one other comment I have on the quarterbacks, looking at that picture of Jaden Davis there, I love helmet stickers, but that is a beautiful looking helmet. When you see it
without the stickers, you remember how good it is. Yeah.
Yep. That's a beautiful looking helmet. That's about all I have to say left on the quarterbacks.
I didn't like the stickers coming back. And then I really didn't like it when they got so many, it just completely took over the entire helmet. I do think what they do now, where each player gets stickers for wins or specific plays or awards or whatever, is cool, because they have this helmet now that becomes their journey at Michigan, if you will.
Yep.
Right. I do think that's kind of cool, but you're right. Look at that thing. And that is the best helmet. It's just not even close. Yeah. It's clean, man. Look, you brought it up, and the transfer portal thing kind of hangs over all of this right now. Hold on, I got to address this because he's said the same thing a million times. Orji hasn't thrown any passes, not even in Tampa 2 season. How is that a good sign? Okay. Denegal's thrown, what did he throw? 6 passes last year in garbage time. Tuttle, yes, he's thrown more passes. He's entering his 7th year, and he's never held a starting job or any level close to that, right? Davis Warren, same thing. He's thrown a few passes. He was injured all of last year. Jane Davis is a freshman. You're right, Orji hasn't thrown any passes in games. They did call a play for him in Alabama where he was supposed to throw it, and he chose not to because his receiver was in coverage, right? But the bigger thing is they trusted him in those big moments to have the ball. Ohio State, Iowa in the Big Ten championship game, Alabama in the Rose Bowl, and Washington national championship game. They took J.J. McCarthy, the quarterback that Jim Harbaugh said is the best in Michigan football history and arguably about to become a top 5 NFL pick. They took him off the field in those moments and let Alex Orji have the ball. I'm with you. We haven't seen him throw it. But that's why people think what they think about Alex Orji. They've come out and said they believe in him, that he's stepped up in those moments. So if there was, like Josh said, a JJ, right, not only a 5-star freshman, but a guy that threw the ball a bunch the year before, it'd be a different conversation. That guy's not on the roster right now. So like Brock said, in the transfer portal, and this is all hypothetical because we don't know who's going to be out there. I'm going to say one name just to give you an idea of what I think Michigan's probably looking at potentially if something comes into the portal. It's a guy like Miller Moss, who's out at USC, who got to play last year because Caleb sat out the bowl game and had this amazing bowl game, right? But Lincoln Riley goes out and gets another quarterback. UNLV, right? I'm drawing a blank now. I can't think of his name. But anyway, goes out and get another quarterback who people think is probably the favorite to start. So that's the kind of player. Maybe Miller Moss doesn't win the job in spring, or it's clear he's not going to, so he jumps in. Or maybe there's a starter like Ohio State took, Will Howard, who struggled at the end of his career and has arguably gotten benched for their version of J.J. McCarthy, the next highly rated recruit that's coming in, and he entered the portal, right? I don't want to say this definitively because I don't know, but I don't think Jalen Milroe's coming in the portal and coming in Michigan. Guys are holding on to something like that. I don't think that's happening. So unless a surefire starter, and I know there's a couple names people are hoping, unless something like that jumps in, Michigan's probably adding another name to compete, not necessarily a guaranteed starter. Is that fair, Josh? And honestly, I know the coaches aren't going to talk about it. I haven't heard any rumblings of super interest watching that portal for a QB either.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's been discussions and of the such, but nothing that really would make me believe that it's for sure going to happen in terms of adding in the portal. And again, we don't know who's coming, who's going. So, it's premature for me to even.
I say this knowing full well there's a chance that some star will enter the portal tomorrow and make me look like an idiot. It has happened before. But
yeah, it all just comes down to the kind of waiting and seeing what happens. And the April 15th is not too far away. It's coming up quick. So and if you're talking about grad transfers too, realistically anyone could transfer when you're talking about grad transfers. But I think the big thing, right, yeah, exactly. And I think the big thing with when you're talking about Orji's lack of or stats or anything, in terms of passing in real live games, Michigan has, 3 years of tape on Orji. They have 3 years of tape on Denegal, and they've trusted Orji enough to, by watching the tape and seeing him evolve in practice, to give him some time in some critical moments. So it's not like they have no idea what kind of passing ability that Orji has. I mean, practice and live reps in practice,
right,
is completely different than in-game results. But
and you've got Texas week 2, so you don't have a lot of time to let him grow on the field either. That's an interesting thing about the schedule this year.
Yeah, and that's kind of the bad part. I mean, I know fans wanted a better looking schedule. Now you got it, but timing isn't all that great. But it is what it is. But again, it's only week 2, and we're in April. It's a long way away from August and September. So anything can happen, and something could happen tomorrow that makes this conversation completely moot at this point. So
we found out about Rod Moore's injury in the middle of last week's podcast. So
right
here.
Right. So at this point, Yeah, it's just, kind of wait and see. And I know for the people that, are making these facts that, that Michigan doesn't have a quarterback or anything like that. I encourage you to join their staff and create your own quarterback too. If you'd like, you're welcome to do that. And I'm sure the results would be just as good as what they're doing right now. So, I think these guys get paid millions of dollars to get it figured out, and I think they're going to figure it out somehow. So again, we're in April. I'm not worried about it. I was just laughing the other day too, because I was laughing about the run game freak out that people were having week 3. And I was sitting there going, don't even worry about it. I'm not worried about it. And I would love to take a victory lap for that, just because some people are absolutely morons when it comes to freaking out and stuff. But, people just don't know patience. They don't have patience. And, they expect the second coming to just trot out on the field every year. It just doesn't happen that way. You don't produce JJ McCarthy's every year. It just doesn't happen that way. Yeah, there's going to be drop off with Michigan this year. I mean, sorry to break some news and break some hearts here, but Michigan doesn't have as much talent from last year to this year. It's just not that way yet. And it is what it is. So maybe there might be some drop off at the quarterback position. But again, the way yeah, maybe, who knows? And the way that Michigan, the way Michigan runs its offense, they don't need a guy that can, drop a pass into a bucket from 60 yards out. They just need a guy that can control the offense and can lead scoring drives. Don't turn the ball over. That's like the main 3. I mean, this is going to be a Jim Harbaugh kind of offense. And the type of quarterback that is successful in Jim Harbaugh's offense is one that doesn't turn the ball over, that can throw the intermediate to medium passes, and not necessarily dink and dunk, but it's just enough that can lead a team down the field and score points. And again, I think Orji's capable of that. I think Denegal's capable of that. I don't think you're just going to see, a 50-yard crossbody throw into a window. It's just arm talent. It's rare. That's rare arm talent that JJ McCarthy had, and they just don't have that. And that's okay. They don't need to have that. Would they like to have that? Yes, but it's just reality. Reality is what it is. And I don't think they have a guy that has that kind of arm talent, but that's okay. They can make it work. I think Michigan is set up to make another run for a Big Ten championship. I think with the way the playoffs have opened up, I think they can make another run in the playoffs. Their defense is going to be good again, and that defense can keep any team in the game, any offense in the game. So that's kind of my tangent done there. But I just, again, we're in April. Just wait and see how this shapes out.
I would just say one last thing for quarterbacks is that I think this upcoming season, the 2024 year, is going to be a pretty significant drop off in terms of quarterback talent from what we've seen in college football the last few years. I think PFF put out their best returning player at each position, and the best returning quarterback was Carson Beck. And for me personally, he doesn't move the needle very much. So I do think if Michigan were to look into the portal, you're not going to get a guaranteed starter. So like you were saying, Trevor, whoever they may bring in is probably going to have to compete no matter what. And you're not going to be able to pull some guy from the portal if in 2 weeks from now a quarterback committed. I don't think there's really anyone in college football right now that could commit to Michigan and you would say from the day they committed they'd be the guaranteed starter in the season opener. I don't think that's the case, because I think anyone that's talented enough to be at their school in college football right now would stay there. So, we'll have to wait and see what happens in terms of the portal or what Michigan looks to do. But I don't think there's a quarterback that would transfer to Michigan and tomorrow be the starting quarterback. I don't think that person exists.
You got people fired up with your Carson Beck take.
He I don't think
he was pretty good at the end of last year. He's pretty good.
Okay. All right, but he's all right.
I know what you mean. As the best quarterback in college football returning, that's not necessarily the names you've seen in the past, but yeah, he was all right last year.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think he's not a big name yet. Maybe he was good near the end of the year, but I don't think he's anything like we've seen in college football the last few years.
Georgia's getting to that point where it's like, and I don't mean this about Beck specifically, but it feels like any quarterback's going to do really well at Georgia. I mean, they are just a rolling machine at this point. Obviously, losing, Brock Bowers is going to be a big deal, but I mean, they're the modern day what Bama used to be, But before Saban started getting the big recruits at quarterback, he had Greg McElroy behind a beast offensive line with some weapons, can run the ball. It's a system a quarterback can succeed in. Not very different than what Michigan's trying to do.